Please welcome Adam Linn.
I was sitting at my kitchen table, struggling through John Kennedy Toole's Confederacy of Dunces, the 3-volume Braille edition, when I heard a tremendous pounding on my front door. Now, I wasn't accustomed to getting visitors at 1 in the morning, but it was a very, very small town, so I wasn't too nervous. I go to the door and I open it up, and there's my best friend, Ryan Fox. But it's not in his usual self. He's speechless, he's shaking, he's almost crying. I'm like, Ryan, what's wrong? I bring him in, I sit him down on the old couch. I'm like, man, can I get you a cold beer? And then he speaks one sentence. They got sex tapes of me, and they're gonna have a listening party. It was the fall of 1995, and I was a student at the Louisiana Center of the Blind. Now, I went there from Harvard. I graduated from Harvard that spring, and rather than go to New York and Wall Street, I decided it'd be good to go to a small southern town for a while and learn about reading Braille better, traveling with a cane, maybe do a little woodworking. The center was a fantastic experience. The only real problem we faced there in this tiny town was there were about 20 unattached guys at the center and 2 available women. So, while I was having no luck pursuing women there, I had made a best friend. And it was the first time in my life that I had a best blind friend. And this was my buddy Ryan. If I was going to design a beer drinking buddy, it would be Ryan Fox. I mean, he was like out of a catalog. From Amarillo, Texas, straw cowboy hat always pushed back on his head, always a can of Coors Gold in his hand, a bunch of tall tales, easygoing, very funny, there to take the blame if I did something bad when we were out drinking. So, to have him there crying on my couch was unbelievable. I'm like, Ryan, sex tape? What are you even talking about? And he's like, William and Max are 2 nemesis going after the 2 women at the center. A lot of nemesis tonight, right? William and Max got a scanner. It's one of those radios you can use to listen to police, listen to fire, and I guess you can listen to cordless phone calls. So, you know, I was on one of my sex chat lines, and they recorded me, and they're going to have a party and play the tape. Maybe I was a bit naive, but I was speechless. I'm like, Ryan, I'm sitting over here plowing through this book. I mean, it's 3 volumes. I could have given you one. And you're spending $5.99 a minute on a sex chat line? Dude, I was like, no, $1.99. It's out of Dallas. It's a cheap one. So he's like, but it's over. I mean, I'm going to have to leave the center. This is way too embarrassing. I can't deal with this. In my anger, melted into empathy. I thought, my God, this wasn't me. Let me tell you, this wasn't me, right? This is a friend, but it could have been me, right? I mean, this could happen, possibly. And how embarrassing would that be? You're in a tiny community, a small town. Everyone is going to be there. Everyone's going to hear it. I start going through options in my mind. Do we call the police? No, I don't think you can. I don't see the Rustin cops being too sympathetic to the sex chatter. Okay, no, we can't tell the administration of the center. They're not really going to care. My God, if Ryan leaves the center, I'll be here alone. This will be terrible. And then the plan just struck me. It hit me. It's one of the few times in my life genius just fell from the sky and was born fully formed from my head. I was like, Ryan, this is actually pretty easy. This is how we're going to handle it. All we're going to have to do is we're going to break into William and Max's apartment, we're going to find the sex tape, destroy it, and escape into the night before the listening party, and we're good, right? We're good. So, yeah, silence from Ryan, which I interpreted as appreciative silence. So, the big plan. So, luck was on our side, in that this was Tuesday night that Ryan came to me, and the listening party was scheduled for Thursday. Now, Wednesdays at the Louisiana Center for the Blind were dedicated to trips to Monroe for country line dancing. So, we knew that William and Max would be there chasing the 2 girls, and that we would have a window of opportunity to maybe pull off this heist. So, it occurred to me the only other thing we possibly needed was a co-conspirator. And I knew who it was going to be. It was Tony Childers, a 55-year-old auto mechanic out of Hot Springs, Arkansas, who had recently lost his vision to macular degeneration. He hated William and Max maybe more than we did. So I approached Tony. I said, here, can you do this plan, Tony? And the plan was this. Go to the apartment manager. Pretend you had locked yourself out of your apartment, Tony. He's an older guy on the other side of the campus, no one who would be connected with us. Get the skeleton key from the manager and then go by and kind of casually unlock William and Max's apartment just as they're leaving to go country line dancing. And then we can just slip over and steal the tape. So Tony goes, gets the key, and does his part of the duty. And it's like, okay. Now the only other problem was, the only obstacle we faced in doing this was the night watchman. Now at the Louisiana Center, all of the roles were fulfilled by blind people, including that of night watchman. But those of you in the know will understand that there are blind people, like me and Ryan, who didn't even have light perception, and then there are the sighted blind, who are blind people who can see a little bit. But when you don't want them to, they can see with the accuracy and precision of like a hunting falcon. So this was very much rolling. And this guy, any infraction, this guy could see from like 4 miles away. And he was there in the activity center watching TV just so that something like this would never happen. So we had to wait until it was dark, but not until they got, but not so long that they would get back. So we're there. Our hearts were pounding, our palms are sweating, we've got backwards baseball caps on, we've got UT sweatshirts turned inside out, we're wearing black sweatpants, we were going to put some socks over the end of our canes, like sound condoms. And we've got a battered old boombox that I'd found in my apartment with duct tape and clothesline holding it together. So finally it's 0 hour. We creep across the parking lot, a couple of blind ninjas, waiting any second, people to be like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Doesn't happen. We reach apartment R, my hand hits the doorknob, blessedly it turns, we step in, boom, we're in. Astonishing how exotic an apartment can seem. Even a dingy little apartment exactly like your own, maybe 50 feet from your own door when you're committing a crime. So we're in there, we start feeling around. Again, very tiny apartment, so pretty obvious where the stereo is going to be, where the cassettes might be. We find a rack of cassettes in one of those plastic things from the 90s. And we start feeling through and popping them in the player for Tim McGraw, Garth Brooks, a little Boys to Men. It's like, who are these guys? Then my hand hits the familiar outline of a Maxell cassette. I'm like, oh, I know a mixtape when I feel it. This is definitely a do-it-yourself job. Popping in the player, first thing here is Ryan's voice. Oh, I'm gonna slip you out of them tight wranglers and start touching up on you. I'm like, okay, this is definitely the tape. Pull the tape out, Ryan runs over, grabs it, boom, we snap the tape right there. Even if the rusting cops come bursting through the door, guns blazing right now, we've destroyed the tape, we've sunk the listening party. Then I got a little greedy. I thought, hey, where's this scanner? So let's make sure they don't do this again. I know Ryan well. I'm like, let's make sure they don't do this like tomorrow night when you're on the sextat line. So I start feeling around and I find this thing, looks like a little remote control with an antenna on the end. Ryan's like, come on, take it with us. I was like, no, we don't want any evidence. I'm thinking the FBI is going to come in, check this whole thing out. He's like, what are you going to do with it? I'm like, I know. Let's throw it in the microwave. So I thought it was a good idea. So I toss it in the microwave, flip the thing on high. It is very surprising how quickly circuit boards can explode and electronics can start to burn, toxic smoke starts to fill the apartment. So, pop the thing open, grab it, nearly burn a hole in my palm, little stigmata for the road there, and take it, flip it on the couch, think, hope the whole damn place doesn't burn down. We run out, and we're free. We did it. We escaped. We did not get caught. So the next day, I go grab a 12-pack of Dixie beer, head over to Ryan's, I'm like, this is celebration time. And as I approach his apartment, I hear a girl's voice coming from his door. I'm like, oh, that's kind of surprising, who's that? And so I knock on the door, he comes eventually, opens it up maybe like 3 inches. He's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, hey man, I got some beers, celebrate the big win? He's like, oh, well, I got Tracy over here, I'm telling about the plot I hatched and how we pulled this whole thing off. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, but maybe you want to run by Doreen's with those beers and you could tell her, you know, you were a small part in the whole thing. And I'm like, and he closed the door. And I'm like, and I realized, I'm like, okay, not only did we destroy the sex tape, simultaneously destroying the reputations of these bullies, William and Max, but we'd actually managed to get the attention of the 2 women on campus for our brave deed. And, you know, I went to Louisiana. I thought I was going down there to learn how to walk with a cane, maybe, you know, learn how to read Braille a little bit better, do some water rafting, things like this. But I didn't know that, you know, breaking and entering, vandalizing electronics, and destroying sex tape were going to be the skills that have served me thus far as the best things that I could have for the real world. Thank you.